Hey guys, today I'm going over how Moxxi almost became a full-fledged weapon manufacturer in Borderlands The Pre-Sequel. I know it sounds crazy, but after I made a video a while back about a Reddit theory which speculated that Moxxi could become a manufacturer and partner with S&S Munitions, maybe in Borderlands 3. It goes on and on. If you guys want to hear about it, I'll link it down below. But this spurred a follower, Jazzer the Cat Sucks, to tell me that weapons can actually be kind of transformed into Moxxi brand weapons in the pre-sequel, which can cause a change to the logo of the weapon on the weapon card itself to Moxxi from whatever it was. But before we get ahead of ourselves and get to that, let's talk about Moxxi for a second. So in Borderlands 2, Moxxi was given a special Miss Moxxi prefix and certain weapons. Her most notable and popular weapons in Borderlands 2 were the Grog Nozzle, the Ruby, the Creamer, but the list goes on and on. She had a lot, and a lot of players usually carried at least one type of her weapon because of their special property, which was healing when damage was done. And the weapons varied in how much health they returned per damage dealt. In Borderlands The Pre-Sequel, the developers continued this trend, so there are still special Moxxi weapons which have her prefix and offer player healing. But since then, people, including myself, have speculated as to whether Moxxi will ever get her own weapon manufacturing type instead of just a prefix. I mean, she's a businesswoman after all. She ran the Underdomes and has bars all across Pandora, and it seems like if she's branding weapons, she could for sure make her own. Why not? Going back to the pre-sequel, it looks like the developers at least thought about putting Moxxi in the game at one point, which we can see when using Gib's save editor. Once again, for those of you guys that don't know, Gib is a free software, and it's used to change the level of characters and weapons in the game. It has a lot of functions, and I wouldn't consider it true modding. Like, I'm not downloading third-party random Moxxi weapon mods. Like, that's not what's going on here. So if you hear Gib, just don't immediately write this off. So once you have Gib, it will allow you the ability to modify weapons. I'll also put the link to Gib down below in case you guys want to do this. But once you download it, make sure your software is up to date. Then pull up a character save from Borderlands The Pre-Sequel. And be sure to copy the weapon that you want just in case anything goes wrong. But to make it a Moxxi weapon, all you have to do is change the .manufacturer, whatever it is, .malawan, .hyperion, to .moxxi. So capital MOXXI. And usually the box, if it's anything the game doesn't recognize, it will be red. So if you just tried typing in gibberish, nothing will come up. It won't let you make the weapon. But if you go in there, delete Hyperion and put Moxxi with capital M, and then save that weapon and then launch the pre-sequel, the gun you'll see will change to a Moxxi weapon. So you'll start the game, you'll see that the weapon has changed to a Moxxi brand. There is no mod. I didn't download anything except for Gib, and which you basically just use to kind of trick the game into pulling this up. And even when my subscriber first sent this to me, I didn't believe it until I saw it with my own eyes. So I highly encourage you guys to do this if you didn't know about this. It changes the brand of the weapon to Moxxi brand with 3 X's, so it's MOXXXI, like triple X, which is the same logo she has outside of her bars, and it's kind of her business logo more so than her name. So it would make sense that the developers would want the weapon logo to be that as well, not just her own name. Also, something else I want to say is yes, I know this process could be done in Borderlands 2 with Anshin, who was the shield manufacturer, and that would change the weapon as well. But this is different because this Moxxi design isn't in the game at all when Anshin was at least in the game as a shield. But both of these, something they do have in common is they do mess up the reload animation for a lot of weapons, so you'll just reload with no hands. No big deal, won't break your game. But yes, I do know about the Borderlands 2 version of this, but this one's a lot more interesting. This isn't in the game at all, which makes it so much better. Also, along with just the letters and the name, it adds her leg as a little symbol above the letters, which kind of starts at the M, curves over with her knee, and then goes kind of towards the end. So you get this whole insignia. It also can change the stats of the weapon. Usually it decreases them, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Something else important to note is that this does not add a healing element to the weapon, so you won't get any of that healing for dealing damage like normal Moxxi weapons have. It looks like they didn't get to that when they were developing this, or they didn't want Moxxi weapons to have the healing effect. That's just something we won't know. So, as I was saying before, it also changes the stats of the weapons. Sometimes they'll be lowered or unchanged, but it's kind of up in the air as to what exactly her gimmick was going to be. We assume healing, but the fact that it isn't added kind of drives a hole in that theory. So overall, it doesn't change the way the guns work too much. What I said before, sometimes lower magazine, lower damage. But it does have me interested in what the developers' plan was for this weapon type. So I know that Moxxi is supposed to be healing, but to have a whole brand of weapon manufacturers all dedicated to healing could cause some problems, and that would be probably the only weapons people use. So we don't know why they scrapped it. It may have just been easier to add the Miss Moxxi prefix to a certain weapon than to have the entire world drop pool of Moxxi weapons. Or if they wanted to keep the brands the same, because it wouldn't really make sense for Moxxi to be making Malawan weapons or to be making Jacob's weapons just that have the Moxxi brand anyways, so maybe they didn't want to put all the development time to give her her own standard, her own gimmick, her own look for a bunch of weapons. But we really don't know. Maybe they just even wanted to save it for Borderlands 3. We just won't know. It's one of those things. We'll have to wait till Borderlands 3 comes out for any answers. But let me know what you guys think down below. Did you guys know that you could change the manufacturer in Gib to Moxxi in Borderlands The Pre-Sequel? And also, why do you think it was cut? Thanks again to Jazzer the Cat Sucks for bringing this to my attention. I'll link his channel down below if you want to see his original video he sent me. It's awesome. Be sure to check it out. And then like and subscribe for more Borderlands content, and see you guys in the next one.